What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Once again, it's that special time of the year. It's the holidays, which can only mean one thing. No, I'm not gonna sing you Christmas carols, but I am gonna show you how you can draw this cute cartoon reindeer from start to finish. It's all in real time, no time lapse either, so you can follow along step by step. Plus, for all you Procreate users, I'm gonna be giving away, as my Christmas gift to you, a free holiday themed brush pack. I'm gonna show that off in the video, and you can learn how you can download that. So if you wanna follow along and draw with me, keep watching. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and draw a reindeer. Starting out, I'm using a 4000 by 4000, 300 DPI canvas. For my brush, I'm gonna start out sketching, so I'm gonna use my HB pencil, which is part of my pencil pack that's available now. And then for my color palette, once again, I've got this pre-made, so if you wanna download the same colors that I'm using in today's video, you can do that for free. If you just go to my website, bjdell.com, underneath the YouTube reference materials page, which I'll also link this down in the description below. You'll see this as a JPEG on there. Just save it to your iPad, to your camera roll. Then once you're back in Procreate, go up to your wrench icon, go to add, insert a photo. It's gonna bring it in as a separate layer in Procreate, and then you can just long press each of the colors to select those as we go through today's tutorial. So let's go ahead and get started. To sketch this, I'm just gonna use a black, and we'll start with the head. So I'm gonna use just a pretty big circle here for the head. We'll have a kind of big head and a little body. And then I'm gonna kind of pull the head around here to the front, the chin and the cheek here at the side. You'll see it's gonna kind of dip there. Just like that. And we'll kind of have a 3/4 perspective going on here with the face. So if you wanna kind of draw those guides in there so you can kind of see where everything's going to be laid out. That's going to be the shape of the head starting out. Then of course we need to pull down the nose into this. So we'll have the nose coming down in here, and kind of that snout part, the mouth coming back in here, and then bottom right there. That looks pretty good. Go ahead and block in the eyes here. So kind of have one eye here. Is going to be smaller on the right hand side because of the 3/4 perspective we've got. Then the left is going to be a little bit bigger here. Kind of round out this nose a little bit more. And we'll have them looking right at the viewer here. So we'll get those pupils in right there. That's going to be the shape of the face starting out, and then we'll kind of start to pull this back and around here. You'll see I'm using some basic shapes here to start out. We're just blocking in where everything goes right now. So just some basic ovals here. Kind of tell us where the ears are going to go. Then same thing here, just some basic ovals at the top. Kind of block out where the antlers are going to go. Down in this way, and this one's going to kind of tuck behind here on this side because of the perspective we've got going on. Let up like that, and then start to block in those other parts of the antler there. Same thing here. It's going to be the basic shape of the head. Now we can kind of start fine-tuning a little bit more on the ears. Same thing here, kind of having it curve up there at the back and get the inside of the ear there. There's going to be the basic shape of the head. Now we can go ahead and start on the body. Let's do some eyebrows first, get those kind of blocked in. So for the body, like I said, just want this to be kind of a top-heavy design. So the body's going to be smaller than the head. So an oval there for the body, a couple ovals down here for the feet and the legs. And once we've got those kind of in there, you can start to fine-tune exactly how this all comes together and how it looks. Get the hooves in here. You'll see I just keep this really sketchy during this stage of the process. I really kind of go back and fine tune everything once I start to go in and ink. So you'll see it's going to get a little bit nicer and clean when we go in to actually ink this guy. So there we go. Let's go ahead and get some arms in here once again. Just kind of using some ovals here to get the idea where everything goes. I think with him, we're going to give him mittens. So we'll draw another oval there at the end. Kind of get where these mittens come in. And then pull this arm up and then have it all come together here with a scarf. We'll have him wearing a scarf. Give him that really winter feel. Kind of pull some tails of the scarf here in the back. Have those kind of coming off in the distance there. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. That's going to be our basic sketch. So now we're going to go ahead and start to ink this guy. So to do that, I'm going to come up to my layers menu and I'm going to make a new layer. This is going to be my inking layer, but I want to turn down the opacity of this one just so it's not as dark. So if we hit the N here on layer 1, it's going to bring up our blend mode and our layer mode, blend mode, and then we can drop the opacity here. Not too dark, not too bright. And then we can start inking on this layer. So if we go up to our color palette now, I'm going to go to this first brown. That's going to be our outline color. We're going to outline with a brown rather than a black. And for my brush, I'm going to switch over now to my cartooning pack. And I'm going to start out using my standard inker Streamline. And that's what we're going to use to ink. So I'm going to zoom in here, see it a little bit better, but first we need to decide where's the light source coming from. So I've talked about this a lot in previous videos. Determining where the light source is coming from before you start to add any type of ink to it or do any outline work really helps you kind of determine line weight of your lines. So anything closer to the light source is going to have a thinner line. Anything further away is going to have a thicker line weight, and it's going to have a heavier line. So I think with this, we'll have the light source coming from this top right-hand corner. So everything here is going to be a little bit thinner lines. Everything back here is going to be a little bit thicker. So now that we've got that out of the way and decided, we can go ahead and start doing the inking. So let me pull in here so we can see it a little bit better. I think I'm going to start here with the nose and just do an oval here. Holding down is going to lock it in. You'll see there, made this thicker here at the back and the bottom. Top is a little bit lighter there. Start to pull up these lines around the nose and into the eye there. We'll start to bring the eye around here. Go a little bit lighter on that line. Hold down to lock it in. Then I'll go ahead and get the line back here for the eye. Try that one more time with connecting it a little bit better here so we don't have any overlaps. There we go. Now let's go ahead and start to get the eyebrows in here. Go heavier at the bottom and then lighter at the top. Once again, to kind of do that heavy lifting of the shadow work there. So it's got some line weight there going into it. Start to bring around this snout then, like so. The bottom of the mouth there. I'm going to pull out here just a little bit. We'll start to work on this eye. I think we're going to kind of have a little overlap there. And then we'll bring the head around. I'm going to do this on a new layer just because this is going to be a really big swooping line. And I think I might bring it over too far down here so I can go in and easily erase it if it's on a separate layer. So I'm going to start to bring this up and around. And you'll see here, I want to go lighter in the front and then heavier here towards the back, like we talked about with the line weight that we're going for. And like I said, I did go over so that way I can go back in here and erase that a little bit. And then where this line comes in, I'm going to erase just a little bit here. You'll see I like to keep line weights thinner on the inside. If it's an outside line, it's an outline. It's not touching any interior parts. Those I like to keep thicker. Once it starts to overlap here, I like to pull it back in and make the line weight a little bit thinner. Let's go ahead and get these eyes in here now, the pupils. one here. That around for the iris there. Get a circle here for the iris. And then, oops, get another line here. Let's erase that. People in there. Make sure those match up. Those look pretty good from left to right. I'm gonna go back in with my eraser now. With my eraser, I'm just gonna use my standard inker eraser here. I'm not using the streamline one. And we'll just erase some reflections here if we can get the right size. Some reflections here on the pupil. We've got those, it looks good. Now I'm gonna go back up here to my brush and we'll go ahead and get these ears kind of in here. Once again, a little bit thinner there at the top and thicker down towards the bottom. And let's get the inside part of the ear as well. There we go. And then we can do the same thing over here on this side. I think with this, I'm going to go back to that original layer. Once again, if I have any overlap here, I can erase easily. So if I go back to my original lines layer, I've got two going on right now. That's going to allow me to go, if I go like this, I can erase that super, super quick without having to worry about erasing the lines that I just made. See, I actually didn't go over the edge there, so I didn't need to do that. But hey, you know, sometimes that is the best option. Let's try to get this one in here as well. Now this is where I was talking about having the overlap there. We can easily go back in here now to that layer 3. Erase that overlap. So we don't even have it in there. Don't have to worry about hitting that other side, which is nice. And let's get this one too. Go back to layer 2 here, once again, in case I need to erase. All right, so there we go. We've got the head pretty much done. Let's go ahead and start working on the body. So let's got the scarf first. Let's get in there and get that, kind of have a little few overlapping lines there. And then kind of coming in here and doing a couple more. Just give that effect. I think though, this one I want to come up further because I've got this belly coming out here. So this one actually needs to come out to about there. Once again, pulling in here, we can do some of those overlapping lines there. Let's go ahead and work on the arm here. So we'll have this one coming out down here. It's going to be a little bit thicker back here because of that light source. Coming back into the body here and then bringing the belly up and around. This one needs to be a little bit thinner here. There's that. Get the hoof down here. Pulling it back up into the body there. And we'll do the same thing back here. Kind of do those little lines there to show it coming back in on itself. Maybe adding a couple little squiggly lines here for the knees. Getting there a little bit tighter to do that one. All right, we'll get the center belly portion here. We'll have that kind of be a different color in there. Let's follow around this line a little bit better though. I think that looks a little bit more natural there. We'll pull down this arm here. Then we're going to start working on the gloves next. So let me turn this way so we can see it a little bit easier. Pull the glove around here, back to the thumb. Then we'll bring that bottom part around here. Just like that. Then we'll do the same thing on this side here. I really recommend zooming in quite a bit if you are using an iPad or if you're using any digital art. The closer that you can get in here to your lines to make sure that they're smooth and make sure that they look good further away. Once you pull back out there, I'm sorry, closer, once they look better closer up, once you pull back further away, they're gonna look even better. So if you make sure that you've got really strong, crisp lines when you're zoomed in, once you pull back out, they're gonna look really, really good. So if you're doing it digitally, really recommend just getting in there as close as you can. So there we go. Let's go ahead and get the scarf back in here. And if you're doing this with just pencil and paper, then of course you can try it a few times just to make sure that everything lines up where you need to be. I know inking is a little bit more difficult when you're doing traditional because you only get really one go of it, but some fringes coming out here. And then I think too, I want to add in just some like little pricklies to show that I'm switching here just to my standard anchor, not the streamline. So these little pricklies just to show that these are kind of made of that wool material and they have that kind of fabric look to them. Doing these a few on the inside and a few on the outside. Just alternating where I put them. No real rhyme or reason there. So once we pull back out here, you can kind of see what we're left with. I think I want to make this line back here a little bit thicker though. So I'm going to switch back to my streamline. This line for the scarf, since this is going to be furthest away from that light source, I want that to be a little bit thicker. And same thing with this one here. Just have that be just a tad bit thicker there. All right. So there we go. There is our inked reindeer design. So now we can go ahead and start coloring this little guy. So to begin to color, what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to our layers menu. Since I was working on with two different sets of inking lines, I'm going to click on the top one. I'm going to merge down. You don't have to do that if you didn't follow along and didn't make two different layers. You're fine. Just want all the inks on one layer. And then we're going to go ahead and turn off our layer back here of our sketch layer. So now that we've got that done, let's go ahead and go down to layer 1. Plus, to make a new layer, this is going to be our color flats layer. Now that we've got that, we're going to go back up to our inks layer and we're going to set this as reference. So by doing that, it's going to allow us to drag and drop color down here on layer 3. And it's going to be a totally separate layer than our inks layer. So it's non-destructive. We can go in there, change stuff if we need to. It's just the smart way to do it. So now that we've got that set, coming back up to our color palette, second brown here is going to be the main color for the body and the ears, the arms and the legs. So we've got those. Next up, we've got this lighter tan color. Let's use that for the snout and the mouth inside here, which actually I've got an extra line there I need to get rid of. And then we'll do that on the inside of the ears as well. Coming back up to our color palette, this darker brown, we'll use that for the antlers. Use it for the eyebrows. And then also the hooves down here. Get those filled in. I like to do some of the small parts like that by hand because I don't want to hit the outlines. Switching to red for the nose, of course. We'll make this Rudolph. Green's up next. We'll use that for the scarf and for the mittens. And then blue for, oops, hit the line there, for the eyes here. And then I'm going to turn off the background layer so you can see that white was showing through. We still need to color it in though. So we need to select white here. By turning off that background layer allows us to kind of see that that needs filled in. A little bit over the edge on that blue. Get the white, and that's it. That's our color flats layer, totally done. Pretty easy, pretty quick, pretty simple. Now that we've got that done, we can move on to our shadows. So let's go ahead and add the shadows into this now. Once again, got the light source coming in from this top right-hand side. So that means the shadows are gonna be on this back left. So to do this, what we're gonna do is go up to our layers menu. We're gonna make a new layer, and we're gonna drag this so it is on top of our color flats. And then we're gonna click on this one, and we're gonna set it as clipping mask. So this is gonna allow us to add these shadows to this layer. See this little arrow pointing down here to layer 3. It's gonna use layer 3 as kind of the guide where the colors go. It's not gonna let you color outside of anything on layer 3. It's gonna stick to that color. So it's gonna make doing this really, really easy. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch my color now, going back up to my color palette. Second row here, the only color on there, that darker brown, that's gonna be our shadows color. And we're just gonna start to kind of go in here, kind of under the eye, and you're gonna see it looks really dark right now. Super, super dark, but that's okay because we're gonna go ahead and go in here and adjust the opacity of this here in a second. But before I do that, I wanna get a huge area kind of filled in to begin with. So this is gonna help me kind of see exactly how I need to adjust the opacity because I'm gonna have so many different colors selected. If you only do one, it might look okay on that, but then once you go in and start to fill in the other colors with the shadow, it might look too dark on the other colors. So you've gotta really be careful that it's not too dark on one and too light on another. And to kind of help you with that, if you just go in and fill in a large area that covers a lot of different colors, that will kind of help you see exactly where your opacity slider needs to be at. So once we get a decent area filled in here, we'll go ahead and make sure everything's connected, hopefully. We're going to turn off reference on layer 2. If we still had that on, it would just fill in everything. And on layer 4 now, our clipping mask layer of shadows, we can drag and drop this in. You'll see it'll fill in that entire back section. I am gonna go ahead and go down here and let's turn reference back on now. I'm gonna fill in some of this green so we can see. I'm gonna switch over to standard inker here. Oops. And I was on the wrong layer. Oh no. Gotta go back to layer 4. Good thing I caught that. That just shows you that it's super easy to end up on the wrong layer. Always make sure that you check what layer you're on before, if you start to make any changes or switches. This way we'll get a lot colored in here and get the green colored in. But we're actually going to go back in and remove some of this as well. So if you think that this is too thick and covering too much area-wise, you're right, but it's not going to end up like that. We're going to fix it here shortly by removing some of it with the eraser. All right, that looks good. Got a good area filled in. So now I'm gonna go up to my layers menu. I'm gonna hit the blend mode here at the end and we'll drop this down. We need to see where it looks good at. And I think probably right about 40% looks pretty good. So I'm gonna go up to my eraser now. We got that locked in and I'm just gonna go ahead in here and start to pull away some of these. I'm gonna switch this over to my standard Inker Streamline eraser. And I'm just gonna start to pull away some of these shadows from that front section there, where that light's gonna hit it. Do the same thing here around this ear. I've talked about this before. I like to remove some of the shadows, even if, let's say like back here, maybe the shadows shouldn't be removed. I want the viewer to be able to tell that there are two different colors there. If this is just one solid shadow back here, the closest color to this is all the way over here, and the viewer might not realize that that's actually shadowed in back there. And to kind of solve that, if you just go in and erase some of those shadows, you can see that, yeah, there are two different colors there. It kind of makes sense to the eye. You can kind of read it a little bit better. So that's my goal there. Pulling around here to the front. Let's go ahead and get in underneath this eye a little bit now. Get a shadow in under there. Bring this up under the eyebrow like that. Bring in a little bit of a shadow here at the bottom of the nose. It's going to also kind of hit underneath on that snout there too. Be a little bit too much. We'll bring it up and around a little bit more. You'll see it's got kind of that natural curve of the design to it. In here, let's pull in shadow there on the inside, and also down here on the bottom. You'll see I'm just kind of following the way that those lines curve. So we've already drawn those. We've already got the natural flow of how everything should look. So just kind of following the curve of those really makes it easy to start adding in these shadows and having them look pretty natural. I'm going to switch back to Streamline now. More of a shadow here. There's that. That looks good. Let's go ahead and remove some down here once again, just to kind of show that, yes, there are two different values there to all this. You can even pull these in just with those, just like we did the lines there with the scarf. And some around here in the back. Around the front of the mitten here. Erase a little bit here at the front too, so we can tell that those are two different colors there. This looks pretty nasty down here because I did that real quick at the end. So that's where sometimes you don't have to worry about making it perfect your first pass. You can go back in and clean things up later. Let's get around the bottom here. And I think that's pretty good for the shadow. Let's go ahead and add some shadows here into the eyes. For this, I'm just going to use that same blue that we used for the irises. And let's just kind of pull in. Once again, following that same curve. That filled in there, and then hit down here too. There we go. Switch back to this brown now. Kind of clean up these lines as I got in here a little bit closer and can see them a little bit better. I try not to do too much zooming in and out because I know it's kind of distracting sometimes in the videos, but certain times you got to get in there really close to be able to see what it looks like. There's that. Put a couple of lines there. Maybe another line here to break up that arm. All right, so that looks good. Let's get the last little bit of shadows here on the bottom of this, which you're not going to be able to see this one super much because of the closeness and colors of those. But there we go. That's what we're left with. I think that looks good. Now let's go ahead and do highlights. So going back up to our layers menu, let's go ahead and make a new layer. And once again, we're going to set this one as clipping mask so it keeps everything in there just like we did with layer 4. Then coming back up to our color palette here, I'm going to go to this bottom row with that color, and this is going to be our highlights color. So once again, just come in on this edge closest to our light source. And we'll start to add in some highlights around the parts that are going to be hit by that light. Once again, with this, I'm going to drop the opacity, but first I want to get in a pretty decent sized chunk of the design colored in, so that once I start to adjust that opacity, I can tell if it looks like it's supposed to. So follow this one around a little bit more, the eraser there. We do another circular highlight here and there. Get around the front of the nose here. I'll hit in a really big shiny highlight there. Make that pop. There. Around the bridge of the nose here. Or the snout, or whatever you want to call it. And let's pull some around the gloves or the mittens. All right, there's that. Get a couple along the hoof there. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to hit a couple in here too, just to break that up a little bit more. All right, now that we've got a pretty good chunk covered, let's go ahead and go up to our layers menu, hit that N again. I'm going to drop the opacity of that down to maybe about 50. I think that looks pretty good. So there's our character design from start to finish. Let's go ahead and do a background now. We'll just do this fairly quick and easy. So to come up here to our layers, we're going to go down to the bottom, make a new layer, and back up to our color palette. And let's just go ahead and use the blue that we used for the eyes. And I'm just going to make a pretty big circle here. Make it with my finger, holding down with one finger and then the other finger to lock it in as a circle. Dragging and dropping my color is not going to work because I have this set to reference. So I need to turn off reference and then come back down and try it again. So there we go. We've got it filled in now. I'm going to use my arrow here and just kind of move this around to a different spot to get it just kind of where I want it. I think that looks pretty good. I think it's maybe a little bit too dark though. So I'm going to go back up to my layers, go to the blend mode again, and just drop the opacity just a tad bit, maybe about 50. Just so it's not the exact same color as the eyes. I think that looks pretty good. Now, here we go. Something new I made. I've got a Christmas set of brushes that you can download. It's my Christmas gift to you. It's 100% free. You can get these on Gumroad, which I'll link it in the description below. But it comes with 4 different Christmas tree or pine tree, conifer, whatever you want to call it. 4 of those tree brushes and then 4 snowflake brushes. Nothing crazy, but like I said, totally free. My gift to you guys in December. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, the whole 9. There you go. And we're going to use these just kind of to make this background a little bit more interesting. So whichever one you want to use, I think I'm going to use this tree 1, but I'm going to use it under eraser because I'm going to erase the background here. So going to Christmas and tree 1, and you'll see just using an eraser, I can just knock these in super quick. And it saves a ton of time doing this. I know it's not, the craziest thing, but it's more to save time. That's what I made them for. So then going back up to my eraser again, I'm going to go to some of these snowflakes and just kind of throw these in around. And with these, you can just use different sizes of the same one, or then you can switch back and forth between the different ones available just to give it a more variety as you go through. Put different ones here and there so that they're not all bunched up in the same area, but just a few different types and a few different designs there. All right, and there we go. There's our finished design. Last thing we got to do is sign it. So I'm going to make a new layer, Switch back to my outline color here, and switch it back to my standard inker. I'm gonna come down here and assign this guy, and we will be done. 20, almost over. It's time. I think everybody's ready. So there we go, guys. A reindeer, cute little cartoon reindeer for the start of Christmas. There's gonna be more Christmas themed tutorials coming this month. I'm not doing a 25 days of Christmas or anything like that, obviously, since we're already into the month, but I will do more Christmas tutorials. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel with that notification bell turned on so you can get alerted when I post these videos. If you like today's tutorial, if you got some value out of it, do me a favor, give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. It helps other people see it as well. And if you guys take part in these tutorials, if you follow along and make designs based on these little videos that I do here on YouTube, post them on social media, either on Twitter or Instagram. Definitely tag me. I want to see what you guys are doing and how you're putting these to use. So tag me at BJDell, or you can also post them on Facebook in the art group that I've got over there. It's called Keep Creating, a group for artists by artists, place where you can share your artwork based on these or any artwork you're doing at all. It's a place to really show off your creativity. You can do that, give feedback, get feedback, meet new friends. It's an awesome place to be. I want you guys to be a part of it, and I will link that down in the description below as well. As for me, I can be found online, bjdell.com, as well as on Instagram and Twitter at bjdell. So until next time, keep creating.